welcome viewers, welcome back to this course on ESD. So, we were discussing about the sustainable education and the frame model. So, to continue with that, we will discuss right now. Now, this is that means there are certain, we were discussing that there are certain deficits in operational models. So, now how these deficits, how these shortcomings can be addressed. So, this is the framework given by the UNESCO organizations and the researchers, those who are working in the UNESCO portal. So, now they have developed a model like this. As you can see, these are the some of the non-specific competencies. So, with regard to sustainability, because sustainability in order to achieve the sustainability in our lifestyle, in our education, in our consumption and in our even to make our societies more sustainable. So, we need to develop certain competencies. Okay. So, these are they have elaborated how they have elaborated these competencies according to the different levels. So, as you can see, these are the non-specific competencies with regard to sustainability. So, these non-specific competencies, like you can say at the lower level, you can say it is a cognitive competencies, first sub competencies, that is the cognitive competencies, affective and motivational competencies, and the behavioral. Cognitive definitely related to thinking, our cognition, our thinking, our intellectual ability, ability to analyze the whole thing, then rationalize all the things, cognitive abilities. And affective, that means how do we feel emotionally attached to this kind of goals in our life, sustainable development goals, how much dedicated we are, how much motivated we are to develop such consistent such competencies. So, that is the affective, that is emotional and based on our positive feelings, and motivational, that is we are interested, we are motivated to learn these competencies. And the behavioral, that means when we manifest in our behavior, in our performance, in our interactions with the environment, with people, with other things in the environment. So, that is the behavioral outcome. So, these are the things. So, these are the first level of competencies. So, here we can say level 1 is that how these competencies can be incorporated, that is the basic cross curricular sustainability competencies, how this can be incorporated into the cross curricular, co-curricular activities, cross curricular curriculums, you can say we can add these sustainability competencies, the first level. Then the second level of competencies, again the cognitive competencies, affective and motivational competencies, and the behavioral competencies, that is the second level of sub competencies, which are relatively deeper in its sense and meaning and applications. So, that is called the level 2. So, level 2 competencies, the sustainability competencies can be incorporated in the subject specific areas, subjects like maybe in environmental science, in biology, that is biodiversity can be included, then geography, this climate change can be included. So, the level 2 sustainability competencies can be incorporated in the subject specific areas. Then the third level of sub competencies, again in the category of cognitive, that means a little bit higher order thinking skills, cognitive, affective, motivational and behavioral. So, which are considered as the level 3 competencies, which are to be elaborated as the sustainability competencies, and disciplinary is more related to disciplinary, interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary. So, here in the level 2 it was more of subject specific, but in the level 3 it is more of interdisciplinary, the disciplinary with not only within the discipline, interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary, that is across the disciplines. So, these are to be developed. So, how these at different levels, how these sustainability competencies can be incorporated starting from the basic level of cross curricular activities to the subject discipline, subject specific discipline to transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary, disciplinary and transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary domains in subject domains. So, this is the kind of the framework they have given, that how can these shortcomings in our operationalization of model sustainability ESD model can be compensated through this developing this model. That means, how we can guide our learning and teaching according to this framework. So, now to let us that means the frame model, for example, as we have already discussed, that is this is based on the cognitive, affective, motivational, behavioral goals, behavioral development goals and sub competencies under these are things. So, in the sense of hot cognition, that is level 2 and level 3. So, I can say level 2, level 3, that means hot cognitions, that is the higher order thinking cognitions. That means at the level of thinking at the global level, thinking at the international levels, hot cognitions, that is higher order thinking cognitions. Similarly, the affective motivational aspects, facets of sustainability competences also, and that include the affective need, emotion, that means emotional need, that means we should be emotionally passionate about, no, we need to achieve these things. So, affect, that is called the affect need, means affect emotional need. Motivation related to the competencies features. So, we must be highly motivated, intrinsically motivated to develop these competencies. So, that kind of things, that is the second level of and the higher level of competencies. And these also include, it also includes our values, our ethics, our morality, our justice, our responsibility, sense of responsibility, and a kind of positive attitude, not only to think of ourselves or our country or like, but to think about the global people, global context, because we are the global citizens. So, not only with regard to these climates or the environment and etc., but also towards the people's well-being, consumption style, production style. So, that is a mature kind of epistemological beliefs and value system should be incorporated about the relativity, how we are related to each other, being the citizen of the 21st century globalized world. So, how we are related to each other, how the situational characteristics, also it has a real link with the empirical knowledge, and what are the important areas of sustainability at the level 3s, like across the countries, across the culture, across the countries, like that at the international level, at the global 21st century global context, we have to empirically analyze all these things. So, it also includes the values, justice, sense of responsibility, positive attitude, resilience, and developing positive characteristic strengths, strong beliefs, value system, empathy, compassion. So, all kinds of the characteristic strengths would be developed at the level 3, because we are not just thinking about ourselves, our country, our people, but across the globe. So, this being the global citizens, it is our responsibility. Here we can say, so the affective goal commitment, or we can say positively assessed sequence of actions, is the core of any motivation, without which an action will not be performed. So, cognition is that at the analytical part, thinking part, higher order thinking part, analytical part is okay, but first in order to implement, in order to apply this cognitive analysis on cognitive strategies and planning strategies, etc., we need to be motivated, deeply motivated, and for that motivation is being strengthened by our affective or our feeling and emotions. So, that is the affective goal of commitment. So, we are dedicated to, we are committed to achieve those things. So, that affective or emotional, that emotional attachment or affective goal commitment, that means we are committed towards the goal, that is sustainable development goals. So, that affective, emotional, empathetic goals and the commitment, that mobilizes our motivation. That is the core, you can say energy of, analyzing the plan of action and executing it, because that is the whole sequence of action that can help us, that can motivate us to implement it. So, affective cognitive analysis at the global level, taking into consideration all the values, ethics, morals, responsibilities, attitudes, developing the sustainability competences like optimism, resilience, all kinds of things, higher order thinking process, etc. Then transforming it to the affective goal commitments. That means we should be passionate of, we should be committed toward SDG goals, and that will mobilize our not only the resources, plan of actions and strategies and etc., but also motivation. So, that cognitive analysis with affective goal commitment will mobilize our motivation and energy, so that we can achieve the actions. So, that the behavioral outcomes, learning outcomes, performance outcomes will come up. So, this is the frame model, how the sustainability competences can be incorporated from the basic level to the higher level, that is higher order thinking level, and the third level in terms of transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary. Here we are not very much confined to our own domain subject etc., but it is at par, that means all the disciplines are at par in terms of interdisciplinary research, transdisciplinary research. A mechanical engineer can also do in collaboration with the social scientist, with the collaboration with sociologist and all kinds, all across the domain. So, transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary in research, in academics, in program execution, in course development, in all kinds of academic and research activities. So, now there is a German study, research study is there. So, where the two questions are very important. So, in that study the research question one is that what is the present state, okay, present state, that is the lower secondary students sustainability competencies in German. So, after the implementation of ESD as a new guiding principle. So, they wanted to examine what is the state of a secondary level, lower secondary level student in their education framework after it has ESD has been introduced. Second question is that what kind of subscales can be developed and used to capture the sustainability competencies. Yes, just including the sustainability topics or ESD topics and chapters in the books is not enough. So, is not enough. So, actually we have to learn it, understand it, think it, feel it, act upon it, and we have to make it a part of our consciousness. That means, all the time we are it is there in our consciousness. So, whatever we do, we perform, we feel, we taste, we work, whatever, automatically it comes to our mind. So, that to put it into the consciousness. So, they wanted to examine at a lower secondary level students what is the sustainability competencies that they have developed after this ESD word has been introduced. The second question is that how to measure it, how to assess it. Like, yes, we have incorporated from the different aspects, from different sources etc., but what is there any measurement tool, is there any scale and the tools to map it. So, how to map it. So, this is here the second question is that how to develop, what kind of soft skills can be developed to and used to capture the sustainability competencies, or we can say to map it, that yes, we have learned and it has a so and so impact on our behavior and society. So, the measurements of instruments are these are going on, these are going on, and to assessing the learning progression in terms of competencies, multivariate, so many longitudinal and sequential studies are going on. So, results reveal that from their studies, results reveal that first insights into the interaction of different socio-demographical aspects with a different sustainability competencies dimension. So, here their results, their study of their results reveal that the first insight comes from the interaction of different socio-demographical aspects, different people from different sections or different geographical areas, different cultural background. So, when they interact with each other, so they are develop a kind of sustainability competencies may be related to more towards our social skills, social intelligence, and the cultural competencies, cross cultural competencies. So, and that can be, that means competencies in more depth and compare them to the other findings of relevant research. Then that future studies are focusing more on exploring all these kinds of cross cultural interactions to map, to assess, to evaluate the sustainability competencies, and to compare with other kinds of research studies going on in psychology or sustainability related areas. So, this is you can say a framework that sample for each dimension of the question. So, they have developed a kind of questionnaire. Here you can say in the questionnaire the dimensions are like one dimension is that socio-demographic dimension. So, socio-demographic dimension related to age, gender, chosen subject specification etc. Second is that basic cross curricular and subject specific sustainability related knowledge, how these are being provided. So, these are being, so in the questionnaire they put this kind of items, some sample items. Then third is that affective and motivational belief towards sustainability. That means like for example, like when I hear the cars that consume a lot of fuel, I get angry. Or similarly, we can say the when that means we are talking to somebody on the road, then we should switch off our vehicle, switch off our vehicle without wasting the petrol energy and as well as creating the pollutions. So, these kind of statements they have incorporated in the framework, to measure, to assess the awareness, sustainability awareness. Then fourth category, they have self-reported sustainability related things, behavioral interventions. Self-reported means, like for example, when I buy a chocolate with my pocket money, I buy organic and fair trade chocolate. Again, putting the the covers in the dustbins and taking care of the waste materials like the plastic bottles and packages, etc. How do we dispose it? How these are going to be disposed properly in sustainable way? So, then again another category is that intentional subject specific sustainability, that is the intentional subject specific sustainability, like for example, recycling, waste management, smartphone production, smartphone productions and use, decline in the insect numbers, like how these our technological equipments, gadgets are being recycled, waste management, all these are intentional, specific, intentional. So, here we can say, so another is the dilemma situations, or another is the dilemma situations, the confusion. So, here we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 domain, 5 dimensions, 5 dimension questionnaires cover the 5 dimensions, and the 6th dimension is the dilemma situation, that is the confusion. So, here you can say items are kind of socio-demographic item, kind of mixed kind of item across the gender, age, etc. Then the basic curricular subject domain, so subject specific sustainability knowledge is that single choice items with 4 response options, like rating scale or the question answer, 1 right answer for the MCQs type, distractors will be there, MCQs type, etc. Then the item types are of the mixed, sometimes rating scale, sometimes MCQs, sometimes a kind of mixed interpretation, and sometimes is the ordinal scale, that 4-point Likert scale. Again another intentional activities, again single choice item, that means true false. So, the questions are prepared in following this mixed method. Okay. And then let us the dilemmas, like for example, you have given an example. Imagine the following situation: you are the boss of the big company and you can make all the decisions of this company. Your company has earned a lot of money this year. So, you decide like for example, whether to install a new solar system and an electric power charging system, e-cars, or I build up a new sport area for my staff, or I had the consultant who will help in the future decision to make this production more environment friendly, eco-friendly, or I pay myself a big salary, I have to go to the holidays. So, out of these 4 options you have to select one. So, single choice items with the 4 response options. So, in this way, so the correct answer is marked, and the answer with the highest score covers the 3 sustainability dimension and is marked. 3 sustainability dimension, that is all these cognitive, affective emotional, affective motivational, and the behavioral aspects. So, these are the 3. So, this is a type of some questionnaire sample they have used for that study. So, now an ESD indicator for, again how an ESD indicator for the teacher training and national monitoring for an ESD in Germany implementation that has been implemented in Germany. So, first thing is that ESD indicator for teacher training. The first is category 1, that is ESD, which is relevant ESD relevant content. They are ESD relevant content for teacher training. Second category also relevant targets. Okay. First is the relevant content and second is the relevant targets to achieve. So, here relevance in terms of, now this again ESD contents and the targets are again being categorized highly ESD relevant, partially ESD relevant, and potentially ESD relevant. So, in these 4 categories the things are categorized. Then yes, methods are also teacher training method, learning materials, time frame, subject specific versus interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary things, and type of the schools, venue, school subjects, all these factors are also other factors. So, these categories of the coding procedure for analyzing the teacher training course descriptions with 9 categories. These are the 9 categories validated and tested by the external experts. So, so they have developed this kind of teacher training model, which has been again verified by the ESD expert, external ESD experts. So, they have tried to put it into the framework. So, similar it is a kind, this is a thematic indicator framework that is for education 2030 framework for action course, and UNESCO has given it. So, UNESCO has elaborated on it, like goal is ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and prompt lifelong learning opportunities for all, that comes under SDG 4. So, then what are the thematic indicators? Yes, first is that, yes, first indicator you can say as is the first indicator is like equity. So, these are the equity, sex, then the location, then the wealth, then available coverage. These are the concepts, those are the concepts. Then the learning components, by 2030 ensure, we have to ensure that all the girls and boys equitable, they must complete the free, equitable and quality primary education, primary secondary education, that is leading to relevant and effective learning outcomes. This is the 4.1 target. Okay. So, 4.1 target, that is learning. Then comes the learning domain. Here in these categories, the equity, sex, location, etc., how many of them are actually enrolling. So, percentage of children, of young people at the end of the primary, at the end of the thing. So, that is a kind of mapping. Sees then efforts to generate the global measures will focus on the common concepts of minimum proficiency drawings like the national and regional, and then here in the outcome variable, in the objectives, we have to decide, we have to standardize, that means a basic standardize that the at the minimum level of proficiency at the national level, regional level and the international level for the international students assessment. Second is that administration of the nationally representative learning assessment tools, if at all they are using at the primary secondary level or not, how, then what is the duration available for which area, and standardized standards to be needed to be developed for all kinds of assessment. Then again a criteria, standardized standards would be there. So, the observations of the learning outcomes will track the national, regional and the international assessments. Similarly, completion, that is gross intake into the enrollment, and then completion rate after the primary, secondary and upper secondary. So, what is the enrollment rate and then what is the completion rate. So, these indicators are actually currently available as per the common methodology and the UNESCO framework. So, the rate is calculated for the young people is it 3 to 5 years, and for the above the official ending age for the given education. So, what is the statistics, what is the data actually. So, these are that means when the learning content and administration is coming, how these have been standardized as per the national, regional and the international standard, and then the completion of these primary education, primary and secondary education, that is the gross intake level and the completion level. So, here again teacher education for sustained development in Germany, how in Germany they have adopted this kind of model like learning objectives for teachers to promote the ESD. Okay. Like for example, the teachers must know about the sustainable development, what are the different SDGs and how these are related to different topics and challenges, etc. And they must also understand discourse on and the practice of ESD, not just in terms of content, but in terms of practice, both at the local level, national level and the global context, and how to learn about SDGs and ESD and how to practice it. Then third is that the emerging issues and challenges of sustainable development, both in the front of social, ecological and economic and the cultural dimensions as well. So, like maybe that we can say the pollution is a thing, overpopulation is a thing, then chaos and the pandemics, then your you can say unemployment, then cultural cultural aspects, cultural dimensions, cultural adaptation, acculturation and cross cultural dimensions, these are the things. So, how these are to be taken as the intergenerational perspective for the global justice again. So, social, ecological and environmental, economic and cultural dimensions from the different perspectives of principles and values of sustainable development. So, including that of intergenerational and global justice. So, these are to be analyzed under the learning objectives of the teacher training development. So, they have taken into account these things. Then again disciplinary things, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary perspectives of also on the global change, and local manifestation in terms of climate change, in terms of natural disasters, disaster preparedness, then you can say agriculture, then the export and import, then you can say export and import, food security, and then the health and the energy level also, sustainable and clean energy, and then in infrastructure, then jobs also relevant, employment, whether the jobs are decent or not, equality, parity and equality in the wages, job policies, all kinds of things. Then again your you can say the global citizenship, global partnership, then life below water, life on earth. So, all kind of issues both in terms of interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary perspective should be discussed, should be dealt with, and should put into the learning objectives along with the local manifestations, and depending on the local people's needs, local needs, and the geographical context also we have to look into the local perspectives also. So, these are the learning objectives of the teachers to promote the ESD through these kind of objectives and the strategies. So, then again the reflect on the concept of sustainable development, the challenges that is in achieving that, means for example, when it comes to the dilemma, when it comes to the inter-driver dilemma, the confusions, conflict. So, there are definitely different and emerging challenges are coming up. So, how these challenges to achieve these challenges to be mitigated, challenges to be resolved. Okay, so that is why reflect on the concept of sustainable development, the challenges in achieving these SDGs, and we need to develop that kind of expertise to play a different role, play our individual own role in this process. So, what would be our contribution in the process of facing the challenges, mitigating the challenges, and proceeding towards the SDG achievements. So, similarly reflect on the relationship of the formal, non-formal, informal learning. Again, ESD is not just to be confined into books, training books, or the book materials and learning materials, but also it has to be incorporated in terms of our interpersonal behavior, social behavior, formal, informal, and non-formal, for all the kinds of the application of that knowledge, both in our personal life, in the professional life, in the workplace, in our community activities, everywhere. So, along with that, understanding how cultural diversity, gender equality, social justice, and social justice, and the international laws, policies, and then you can say UNESCO's role in in dealing with the in helping out the different countries, developing countries or poor countries, underdeveloped countries. So, environmental protection. So, all these things should be incorporated as a part of ESD, part of educational process as the element of ESD. So, the practice and action oriented transformative pedagogy. Here we need to develop a kind of not just theoretical content based transdisciplinary or interdisciplinary research based, but also practice based and action research oriented transformative pedagogy. So, here we have to update our pedagogy not only just in theoretical analysis and training etc., but in cross cultural, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary research for, and again hands on practices, action research. So, that we have to modify it into a transformative pedagogy which can bring 300 degrees of transformation, not just in our thought process, in our actions, in our in our the impact on society, and achieving that targets. So, where all the learners engagement. So, learners this transformative pedagogy will boost, will motivate, will encourage the learners in participating all this participating the sustainability process itself. So, engage the learners in participative, systemic, creative and innovative thinking and acting processes in the context of local communities and the learners daily life. So, this practice oriented action oriented transformative pedagogy, it mobilizes, it encourages the learners to engage them in different kinds of activities, in collaborative projects, in social projects, in community activities, so in a very systematic way, in a creative way, in an innovative way. It's not just focusing on the local community activities, but learners individual life, daily life, and at the same time in the global context also. So, both the local needs and the global requirements. So, that is so both the teachers and the teachers and the students and the teachers and the stakeholders, teachers along with other stakeholders, they should act as a change agent, because change agent in the process of that organizational learning that advances their school towards sustainable development. So, it is not the responsibility of the principal or the headmaster or only the teachers or the students, is not, it is a community responsibility, is the common responsibility, it is a shared responsibility, it is a collective responsibility. So, when all the people will be actively engaged, so they can act as a change agent. So, we can start with a village, we can start with a particular community school, we can start with a neighborhood school, but here all the stakeholders, both direct and non-direct, they will be engaged actively in a participatory method, in a creative and innovative way, in an they will be engaged with the affective need and motivation of bringing that change, transformation in their society, in their lifestyle, in their daily living. So, then only it can be possible. So, then only it can be possible. So, we can take an example of a community or the locality or a particular village, but we have to mobilize mobilize at all levels, content level, school level, action level, formal, informal, non-formal level, cultural level. So, again in the cultural diversity and issues like the social justice, equality, accessibility, all these issues, so that we can, all of us, we can act as a change agent to bring that transformation not only in our school, not only in our organization, not only in our institution, but in the society. We can move towards the transformative society. So, then only the sustainable development can be possible. So, by using ESD as a tool, developing a transformative pedagogy, action research, action based programs, formal, informal, non-formal engagement, involvement, dedication, high motivation, with all kinds of activities and engagements, and sharing the values and commitment towards achieving the sustainable development, then only we can build up a organizational platform, learning platform to claim our organization or to claim our institution or the school as a eco-friendly sustainable organization. Okay. So, now I am just completing here. Now, in the next class we will continue with other topic. Thank you.